That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball. It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball. It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball. It's the Thuggish Ruggers Ball.
You're feeling the strength for the rump, step bump, hit a bump, get a jump.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 85. It is Sunday, February 26, 2017. The Oscars, or is it the Emmys tonight? Oscars?
The
Oscars, okay, yeah, that big clusterfuck is going to be on tonight. It's nothing wrestling happening tonight, though, thank God. I'm surprised we don't have a pay-per-view. I
thought it was. I thought the pay-per-view is tonight. Am I wrong?
No, it's not tonight. It's like next week or a week after
Wow,
that.
so we got 3 weeks between pay-per-views.
I know, right? It's so nice. And then we're going to have a break between then and Mania. It's at least 4 weeks, I think, after that until Mania.
Yes.
So that's nice, because that break between whatever that last one was and Rumble was so nice. The stories were able to build, and SmackDown did that one episode where they made it basically feel like a pay-per-view, and it was just, yeah, they need to do more of that. But anyway, I'm one half of your host, Dave Brown. I'm joined with, as always, by Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing this morning?
I am a little tired. This week has been exhausting. I worked a lot and my schedule switched, but still got to watch a whole lot of wrestling this week.
Excellent. How is the new schedule working out for you?
It's an adjustment. Let me just say that. It's towards the end of the week I was wide awake during the middle of the night and it was a lot easier, but it's still an adjustment.
All right, well, good luck with that. Yeah, because you're doing the overnight thing now, right?
Yes.
Ugh, I never did that. The latest I worked was I did 7 to 4 a.m. for a while when I was working at AOL, and that was what sucked about that is at the time I was also trying to go to school, and so I was supposed to be at class at like 8 in the morning. So yeah, that didn't work out too well.
Made for a long day.
Oh yeah. It was. I couldn't function. That was just ridiculous. But anywho, we had a week of wrestling, and we're going to talk about all that. I guess not anything real major story happened other than Tom Phillips was, talking dirty to some chick on an airplane.
Which I absolutely don't care about.
Exactly.
I don't care about average announcers' personal life.
Average announcers. Oh man, that's yeah.
I'm just like, maybe I don't know. I've always been about respecting the wrestler's privacy, and that's great. But when you get to an announcer, a person I generally don't care about, I don't consider Tom Phillips good. Then it's his personal life, whatever, and everybody wants to throw stones at him when half of them are cheating on their women. I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people living in glass houses, and it's just it's silly. I mean, that having been said, if you are on any kind of national platform, you really need to watch your behavior with people with anything that can be copied and posted online anywhere, because it is real easy nowadays to take a screenshot of a text message and booble that up online, and next thing you know your name is mud. So
I was about to say, and all you got to do is, especially when you're in a place where you're somewhat of a celebrity, is keep it honest, keep it 100. Just say you got a fiance and you don't care, and most of the time you'll meet people that don't care either. But he's getting caught up for lying because the chick found out he had a fiance, and then that's when she became a woman's scorn.
Yeah. I mean, just stop, dude. I know you guys are on the road, and he's a good-looking dude. So I'm probably, even without being relatively famous, it was probably not that hard for him to pick up women, unless he's just an absolute goober of a personality. So yeah, but still, man, come on, stop being scumbags. If you've got yourself a lady friend or a man friend, however you swing, don't screw up. Don't screw them over. And yeah.
All I say is I don't judge. I'm not saying I'm that type of person. I'm not. I just don't judge. I mean, we basically are getting one side of the story.
Very true. Very true. And I'm not trying to be judgy. I'm just as a general rule, I'm like, man, come on. If you're in a relationship, don't be.
Everybody's like, he has a fiance. Let's see, does he currently have a fiance? I don't keep up with the life of Tom Phillips because I don't care about Tom Phillips.
What, you don't need to know the inner workings of what goes on behind Tom Phillips' mind to find out how he does those excellent calls for NXT television?
If he wants to talk about wrestling and his opinion on the wrestling product, of course I would like to hear it. I give a crap about his personal life.
There you go. So that was a story. Now I have to also say that apparently we got a little heat last week for our talk of 90s hip-hop. It apparently did not make some listeners happy, and so I have to apologize. Now I'm about to go into a rant about Jodeci. So let's do this. No.
When half of our group, or the co-host, is really a music expert, let me apologize, but music is going to come up in our everyday conversations. I like to think I'm more well-rounded than wrestling, and I do understand this is a wrestling show. But guess what? You got the podcast. It's a great podcast. You can just move on forward past that part.
Exactly. There's the fast forward button. It works well. But I kind of like when the podcasts I listen to, I kind of enjoy when they go off topic and talk about other things, because it's just, sometimes it breaks the monotony, and sometimes it's really funny. So.
Yeah, I can go to WWE.com, click on each show, and get a wrestling recap. I really do want to hear when I listen to a podcast, when I do choose to care about people's opinions. I only listen to one podcast, and I do listen to people's opinions. I want to hear what you think about the story, where you think the story should go. Because, like I said, I can get what the WWE version of the results are from them and what they think from them. I want to hear your personal spin on everything.
Exactly. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. You want to start with Raw?
Raw, yes.
So,
and it's funny.
Yeah.
It's awesome because you can start with Raw this week. You can start with the beginning of Raw.
And the beginning of Raw was excellent. That Kevin Owens promo was top notch.
And he did something. He was very intense, and he did something I actually appreciated. He talked about the strategy of wrestling, which is lost a lot now. He talked about the fact that Goldberg doesn't have long matches, and all he has to do is outlast Goldberg. And I just thought, you've seen it. He wins in a minute and a half. It was an actual excellent point. Brought a little realism into this scripted world that we lived in.
Yeah, it was great, and his it's nice to see the killer Kevin Owens back, because we've had kind of jokey Kevin Owens with Chris Jericho, but we haven't seen this Kevin Owens not this intense since basically he was destroying Sami Zayn in NXT. So that was, I just really liked that promo. It made you look at Kevin Owens and go, this guy's freaking crazy. He's going to really hurt somebody. And, speaking of other people's opinions, Max Landis did a video on, it was pretty short, it was only about 4 minutes or so on his YouTube channel about Kevin Owens, and he breaks down the character of Kevin Owens, and people should really check this out. But one of the things he mentions is that The character Kevin Owens was obviously someone who was bullied, and his only way to cope with that or to express anything is with violence. It says if you watch him, anytime he does something really heinous, going back to Ring of Honor, in NXT the whole time, he gets this look on his face. It's almost like he goes dead. And he's like, that is the look of someone who has been traumatized. And he gave such an in-depth take into the character. I was like, whoa. Because you could tell he recorded that like the next day after Raw, and after that Kevin Owens promo, and it was just so good. If you haven't had a chance to watch that, you should check it out. It's over on the YouTubes. And I thought I'd make a really good point that Kevin Owens is this guy who is obviously, inside dealing, the character at least, is broken, dealing with a lot of issues, and violence is the way that he deals with things. And you can see that with his relationships. He turned on Sami Zayn the first chance he got when he was in NXT. He turned on Chris Jericho. And then you get that almost psychopathic promo from Monday. And it's like, yep, this is awesome. And the biggest shame about it is he's probably going to drop the belt to Goldberg at Fastlane. For no real good reason, because Goldberg-Lesnar does not need the title, and it's now Kevin Owens is this scary mofo that people will really buy as champion, and he just needs to start tearing through people. But yeah, so what else did you have from that?
Well, you pretty much expanded on the KO character as much as I could. I just took it more as he's a very much of a sociopath, and he doesn't, develop relationships. He just uses people, and I'm okay with that, especially in a wrestling.
Yeah. I have some random notes from throughout the show. I figured we wouldn't go segment by segment or match by match because it was an enjoyable show, but I didn't think it was worth all of that. I will say that the Cesaro, Sheamus, Enzo, and Cass match I enjoyed, and just Cesaro is amazing. He had a couple of segments in that match, a couple of spots that were just stupid incredible, that just left me standing there going, wow, why is this guy not main eventing like every show ever? And then he did something even better. He has made Sheamus look so good that at the end of the match, when Sheamus bro-kicked the fuck out of Enzo, it looked so brutal, and the crowd liked it. And Cass and Enzo were super over, but they were like "Thank you, Sheamus" chants after that bro kick. And Enzo, man, I cannot say enough good things about Enzo's selling. This guy knows how to take a beating. And yeah, that was the best part of all of that.
My note from that match was Enzo and Cass become number one contenders, which was but they're just a holdover to Mania. They're there to lose to the club to get to Mania. I came up with this interesting thought. I've heard the rumors of the Triple H type of group that he's coming up with. And if they're going to truly do it like Evolution, where they need a fourth member, the kind of up-and-coming member, Cass wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. He turns on Enzo, and then he joins Triple H's faction.
Yeah,
He would be the Randy Orton Batista type character, the real young up and coming one, because you keep hearing it's Owens, Joe, which they're both kind of grizzly veterans. Joe would be more the enforcer, but the young up and coming guy, a guy that Vince McMahon has been behind for a very long time, Big Cass. Put him in a suit.
I mean, you could turn the whole team because they were heels at first. And they just got over because they're such good talkers. Here's my fear. What do you do with Enzo once he's away from Cass? Nothing.
Well, Enzo's great on the mic. He can still do his thing. he's small enough where he has a spot in the cruiserweight division if that comes up. There's a lot of things you could do with Enzo, and he's a creative dude. So, and he very much has this kind of character that you could kind of put with someone else and it would still work.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe I think everyone realizes that he is not going to be a champion wrestler. He is not. His career is not destined for in-ring greatness. He is a character, and he is amazing on the mic. Maybe he's even somebody who could transition to being an announcer, someone on commentary. Because look at how amazing Austin Aries has done.
Yeah, Cass is gonna have to leave Enzo behind at some point.
I just hate that. I would rather see, Enzo just take over, basically become a manager. And Cass, I mean, I don't know, it's not, Cass did show in NXT when Enzo was out with that broken leg or broken arm, whatever it was, for like 6 months, that he can stand on his own, and his promos got better. They have kind of gotten worse since then because he hasn't had to stand on his own, and all he has to do is let Enzo do all the talking. So maybe breaking away would be a good thing. I don't know.
I mean, and Triple H, in essence, would still be his mouthpiece at that point.
So let's talk about this proposed Evolution-like faction. I love the idea of Joe and Kevin Owens working together. I'm not sold on the idea of Triple H being directly involved unless he takes a J.J. Dillon type role. He needs.
Well, the thought process is he would be the Ric Flair of the group. And you remember Ric Flair did not wrestle as much.
As long as he takes a back seat, because this group needs to not be about him. And I know he's getting better at putting other people over, but if the past is any indication, he gets involved in something, it ends up being the Triple H show, or he tries to make it that way. And both Joe and Owens are too good for that.
Well, the character right now that he's playing, Triple H's character is that of a builder. The fact that he doesn't want to have to wrestle, the fact that he doesn't want to have to be the ass kicker anymore. So, I mean, just continuing on that continue on that line of thinking, that would mean he would end up taking somewhat of a back role.
See, I would like them to do something where if they do form an official faction, I would like them to bring in 2 more people, have Triple H be the manager, him be the J.J. Dillon role, and bring in either a tag team. I mean, there's part of me that thinks the Revival would be good for that, but I really want them on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, Triple H stays in too great a shape to play that J.J. Dillon role. He's going to look like, let's just say, you do Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, and Big Cass. Let's just say that. And Triple H is in the group. Who has the best physique of those 4?
Well, that's duh.
That's what I'm saying. You can't put him in a J.J. Dillon role when he looks better than the other 3.
Yeah. Yeah, what if they brought in Kassius Ohno for that? It's Kassius Ohno, Samoa Joe, and Kevin Owens. Man, can you imagine the ripping they would get? People would call them like the Fatty Club.
Yeah, I have been for a very long time. I know he's the knockout artist. Kassius Ohno needs to lose weight. He doesn't carry it well.
No, he does not. Especially with the tights that he wears.
Uh-huh.
If he either needs to get into better shape, he needs to drop 60 pounds. If he's going to keep wearing tighty-whitey-esque trunks.
I was about to say, I wouldn't even say 60. I would just say 20 or 30, honestly.
Well,
I mean, he looks horrible. Don't get me wrong, but I love his gimmick. I love who he is. I just, like I said, wrestling, as I've mentioned before, is a cosmetic industry because it's not, and I'm using quote unquote real. It's based on how you look. You sell T-shirts. You're on pictures. You're on TV. It's a visual medium. He needs to lose weight.
There you go. So a couple other things I had from Raw. I really, really loathe whenever Roman Reigns comes out and Michael Cole says, "Here comes the big dog." I just want to cut him every time he says that. It is so ridiculous. And it's also getting really ridiculous. Roman Reigns destroying the tag champs. That's got to stop. That you are devaluing your tag team titles. And on top of that, you're devaluing the guys holding them. For Pete's sake, just stop with this. I know Roman Reigns is the one they love. He's the chosen son. But geez Louise, man. Put him in a squash match or something.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with just a regular old squash match. I thought this week we could have benefited from a squash match of Roman Reigns or maybe Charlotte Flair just really squashing people. I don't think the matches that they had enhanced their characters at all.
Exactly.
It was kind of just like Roman Reigns holding over into it. And if you're going to do that, put you in there with a local guy. Let him get in the match with Roman Reigns. Let Roman do all his, gimmicks. And then finish it off with the spear and just look really, really strong. And if you're going to put him in there with two people, or if you want to really match him up with Braun Strowman, have him go against two local competitors like Braun Strowman has been doing. And then get all his moves in and then pin them both at the same time like Strowman does.
Exactly.
Like I Am a Monster too, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But for some reason, they won't do that. I mean, when we were kids, how many matches did we see Randy Savage as the Intercontinental Champion? How many squashes were on Superstars?
Quite a bit.
Exactly. So,
but that was, I have to admit, I mean, WWE... Because I'm all about playing devil's advocate. That was a different time. And it being Raw, the flagship show, they might have got killed for that.
Yeah, I mean, if they slowly bring back squash matches, I mean, for Pete's sake, they've got 3 hours to burn.
Yeah. And
they still have a limited roster. We're going to get sick and tired of seeing the same people face each other over and over.
Charlotte and Sasha this week. I honestly didn't pay much attention to the match. I saw the finish, but I was really annoyed that we were getting this match again. It wasn't for a title, and it wasn't on a pay-per-view.
I'm pretty sure I fast-forwarded through it.
Yeah, and as I say, I didn't watch much of the match. I can say this. All credit due, Daniel Bryan brought up the women carrying the SmackDown show. I still have to say, and I'm going to get to this more when we talk about SmackDown, is that the in-ring product is better on Raw.
Yeah, no, you're right. The in-ring, if we're talking women's divisions, comparing them, the in-ring product on Raw is much better. The division as a whole on SmackDown is leaps and bounds better. They have done a great job building up viable champions. They have done a great job. I mean, I wish they would have kept the belt on Becky a little bit longer, but whatever. They've done a great job building characters, and they've done a great job having multiple feuds that honestly I actually care about. But we'll get there in a second. One other thing I will say, Big E was on fire. I loved his "she's Russian, right?" line. That killed me.
That they ended up cutting out.
They did?
Yeah, they ended up cutting it out of the Hulu broadcast.
Oh, well, yeah. Because
they just cut the line because I guess
oh my God.
Some people might have got offended.
For fuck's sake. There's a reason why I watch the bootleg version that is from the live broadcast. I mean, what? Yeah, exactly. So, what... They cut the stupid... I used to watch her on Hulu. They cut the stupidest shit. And I was even looking back. I had one of those memories pop up on Facebook. And it was from... I actually reposted it because it was from 2013. It was from right around the time I really started watching wrestling again. And I had watched an episode of Raw on Hulu, the full thing. and it was the first time I'd really watched a full episode of Raw in years. And I was just bitching about it because it sucked. It sucked hard. There were a couple of decent matches, but it really sucked. And
well, did you think it sucked?
I think it sucked bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm.
I want to make sure I was clear on how you felt.
And I even used a comparison. With that whole thing, I posted the video of that AJ Styles Cedric Alexander match from PWX, which is amazing, and saying how WWE could really use these guys to shake things up. Well, little did I know, I just had to wait a couple years, and we would get them both in WWE. One of whom has just been amazing, dare I say, phenomenal, since his entrance into the company. The other one is not being used as to the best of his abilities, but hopefully they'll fix that. Where was I going with all this? I don't know. I can't even remember. It's sad how you've got these 3 hours, you've got this talented roster, and it still ends up being boring a lot of times.
Kendrick and Tozawa was surprisingly entertaining.
That was. Some of that's because Tozawa's ridiculously entertaining. And it's nice to see them finally getting some people that are getting the crowd excited about the cruiserweights. So thank God Tozawa came in, and Neville with his heel turn. That's making things much better. I'm trying to think. The only other things I really have about this Raw, Sami Zayn is excellent at taking a beating. I enjoyed Mick Foley standing up to Stephanie. I think that's going to eventually end in him getting fired, because he's not going to do this job forever.
So he can go have his hip surgery,
which he desperately needs. Bless his heart. And Braun Strowman doing some flippy shit, man. That kip up, and that was the best show that was the best Big Show match I've seen probably since he left WCW.
That was the best big man show I've seen in 10 years.
It was so good.
It was such a good match. And it was like, it really did allow Strowman to show off more of his ability, stuff he wouldn't be able to do with smaller guys.
Exactly. And apparently on the house show circuit, he pulls out lots of lucha moves and crazy shit. And it was great, because with this character, Strowman has really improved in the ring, but because of the way he wrestles, you don't get to see it very often. And when we do finally see glimpses of that, it's so enlightening. Also, he's in a match with the Big Show. He plays the smaller guy, so because he's huge, but Big Show is stupid huge.
Yeah, but Big Show has lost so much weight that they actually, as far as the being around, they are about the same size.
Yes. Yeah, Show looks great. I'm so glad he's lost a lot of weight and getting himself in shape.
Yeah, you know what? And it may not, extend his career. Of course, he is on a abbreviated work schedule, from what I understand. But just, his quality of life, like I said, I don't really care a lot about people's personal lives, but you know what? I don't want them to die.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
So if he can lose some weight, get in better shape, and extend his life, because unfortunately Giants do have a shorter lifespans. But if he could extend his life, I'm all for it. So get in the best shape you can, Big Show. I'm really one of those things I could say, because he give a crap about who I am, but I'm really proud of all the effort he's put into getting in the shape that he's in.
Yeah, exactly. And was it Kevin Nash that said, how many 60-year-old 7 feet guys do you see walking around?
Yeah.
Not many. So the only other thing I had from Raw is they have The Rock in the building and they don't use him on TV. What? But man, did you see that video of him calling CM Punk?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
that's good shit.
Yeah, and CM Punk, it's funny, he replied that it was his dog's birthday, and he was walking his dog for its birthday. That's why he didn't get the call.
Oh, that is fantastic. But yeah,
of all the people that you can imagine being kind of unplugged, CM Punk is definitely that guy.
Yeah.
Like, he imagines the one. He is the guy that wouldn't take his cell phone on a dog walk. Like me, if I go to the bathroom, my phone goes with me. So there's no way I would. There's no way I would miss that call. But CM Punk, yeah, I could buy that. Hey, I was doing something else, and I didn't really need my phone for it.
So how furious do you think Vince was over that whole thing?
I don't think he was mad. I don't think he was mad. I really don't. I think The Rock has gained such a cachet and has made the WWE so much money. He's the one person that can do that.
Oh, and
Vince McMahon likes control. So that part of him was probably annoyed. But the rest of him was probably got a kick out of it.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. But like I said, I don't know the man. So it's just, honestly, it's an educated guess based on rumors I've heard about Vince.
Yeah. Plus, I don't think Rock gives two shits. I mean, Rock does what he wants when he wants. He doesn't care.
Well, and you know what? He's gained enough. He's like I said, he's made enough money because that's what wrestling is about. You make money.
Yeah.
He's made enough. Vince McMahon enough money. Where I can mention someone that you don't like to talk about on TV. Yeah, I can say Hulk Hogan. I can do that.
Yeah, now, he has earned that.
This jabroni that's still trying to make you money and get there. He can't do it, but I can.
Right. Yeah, he's earned that after his career. So real quick on the whole CM Punk thing, there've been Samoa Joe made some comment about wanting to work with Punk again and saying something along the lines of "we'll see." What do you think the chances are that Punk might show up in the WWE again?
Well, I think the chances are, based on his personality, less than 10%. But it would have to be after he really, really feels like this UFC thing isn't going to work out. Because I think in the UFC he's fighting at like 175 or something like that. He's fighting at a lower weight. So he would have to, of course, gain some weight back. And, yeah, maybe. I think the WWE would have to throw a lot of money at him for that to happen.
And they would be stupid not to bring him back in because he's still such a star.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would be a good point if they do end up doing this Triple H group, and let's say things go awry and Samoa Joe turns on Triple H, that would be a great moment. You bring in and Triple H saying, well, who's going to stand with you? Cue up Punk's music, bring him out. Because that would be a great foil for Triple H since he and Triple H never got along. Of course, I'm working myself into a shoot. This is never going to happen.
Well, my thing is, the person, I am way more interested in seeing AJ Lee with this current WWE division than I am in CM Punk coming back. I think CM Punk had his time, he had his run, he left his mark. That's great. I'm not insulting him, but, I actually miss AJ more than I miss Punk.
She would be incredible with the talent that's out there right now, seeing what she could do. You're right. Yeah. Well, that's Monday Night Raw. Let's talk a little bit about.
I did have one more point from Raw. One more quick point. Zayn should never say Samoa Joe's name again. They should have like a interview where he like doesn't say his name. It would be kind of funny. Like he goes out of his way not to say his name and keep kind of looking behind his back like he's kind of gun shy.
That would be good. He'll need at least one more beating before that'll happen, though.
Yeah,
to be true to his character.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't honestly think it'll happen. It's just it would be funny if they did that. I just think it would be comical. Like he just like, whoa. Well, I'm like, I'm not gonna. The announcer keeps saying Samoa Joe, and he's like, who? Yeah, no, I don't think I'm gonna say his name anymore because it doesn't end well after I say his name.
That's true. All right, so we've got SmackDown this last week opened up with Daniel Bryan in the ring, bringing out Naomi. So is she legitimately hurt?
Yes, she has a knee injury similar to what Seth Rollins has, but not as bad.
Is she going to be back in time for Mania?
They don't know. That's why they took the belt off of her. They didn't want to have a dormant champ all the way up to WrestleMania. So, and they did a good job of expanding on that on Talking Smack, basically saying if it was any other time of the year, they probably would have just dealt with it.
Well, that makes sense, because the whole thing when they brought up the 30-day, thing, which is kind of at this point sadly laughable. Now, if SmackDown decided to actually hold champions true to that and make that a storyline thing, that would be kind of cool.
But that being said, they do defend the belts every 30 days on SmackDown.
They do, yeah, that is true.
They do defend the belts quite often. There isn't a belt like that anymore, really. I mean, Jericho has went a bit of time without defending his title, but I don't think it's been 30 days. They make their belts are out there now. I remember Dean Ambrose's run where he defended it like 3 times in a year.
Yeah, and of course the biggest one would be Brock Lesnar's last run, where I think he defended it all of 4 times against 2 opponents.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, 3 technically. He faced Cena, Rollins, and Reigns, and that was it. And it was funny when Daniel Bryan came back, and he was still trying to get back into the world title mix. He even made a comment, said, "Yes, Brock Lesnar's held this belt. He's only defended it 1 more time than I did when I held it," and which was true. And they stripped him of it, and they needed to, because he was going to be out for a long time. So Naomi comes out all crying. I thought that was a good. I thought this whole opening segment was really good. They did a great job this week putting the women front and center, making it very important. I thought they did a really good job. I was shocked that. Well, I shouldn't say shocked. I guess putting the belt back on Alexa Bliss is the way to go. Especially if there's any chance that Naomi will be better by WrestleMania. If I was booking it, the way I would do it, I would have Alexa kind of cheat her way through most of the roster and issue an open challenge at Mania. And and this is all saying that, if it looks like Naomi's going to be okay, issue an open challenge at Mania. Naomi comes out in her hometown, wins the belt.
I don't think they're ever going to do an open challenge at Mania. Mania is, I'm not crapping on your idea in any way. I'm just saying Mania is one of those things that is produced and promoted. So they're going to have a promoted match.
They could promote an open challenge, and she could even say this is open to anyone on any brand from anywhere in the world.
I think the only way you do that is, and again, it's just I like your ideas because I like to add a little to them. That would be the perfect time for AJ to come back if they were going to do something like that.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be very cool. So Alexa is a 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion. I actually thought the match was pretty good, all things considered.
I did not, and I hated the ending. I just think the throat and then the roll-up, it was very dirty, but I think it could have been something a little more high-impact cheating. Maybe hit her in the throat and then hit her finisher, or hit the DDT or something. It just looked very weak compared to, compared to me, the Raw product. It was a very weak finish.
I could see that. That's fair. I think I have a really low bar where it comes to Alexa Bliss's in-ring performance. Yeah. So anytime it doesn't completely suck balls, I'm happy with it. Yeah,
and you know what? And if you think about it like that, then yeah, it didn't suck. It was just I know how good Becky is, and I want to see Alexa raise her game up.
True. So next thing I had notes on was the Usos promo coming out of the crowd. I
It
thought
was
that was
10 out of a 10. to
oh
me.
yeah, that was so good.
Tag team, they have upped the game on tag team promos. Like, so much. It's like, they're, and I made this point a long time ago, the characters they play are closer to their personality. So, you can tell that. It comes through on the promo. How much this is like them. It might be a turned up version of them, but you can see they feel way more comfortable doing this as opposed to anything else.
Agreed. Yeah, it seemed natural. They seemed like they were having fun. They are just really good at being cocky a-holes. And
They are.
Yeah.
They are. I mean, it's their niche. I mean, they do it well. They've stepped their game up. You might hear about them later in this show.
Okay, excellent. There was a whole series of backstage promos that all the people in the Battle Royal did throughout the night. And overall, I liked these. I loved that the guys were talking into the camera. The Dolph Ziggler one, though, was really awful.
Let's kick a green screen.
Yeah. That was so stupid.
He actually made fun of himself later on social media.
Good. I'm glad.
He was like, he's like, you better watch out before I kick another green screen.
Yeah, that was so awful. But
He said, I mean, he didn't say it, but you can very much tell that he thought it was really cheesy.
He came off. He did not seem very comfortable during any of it.
Like, you want me to do what? You want me to what?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
And then, okay, so another thing that, speaking of bad delivery, at some point Nikki Bella had an interview, and her delivery of her lines were so awful. It was.
She's not the actress part of wrestling. Like many other things, she's not good at.
Yeah, it's like, don't give her lines. Just let her go out there and talk. Because she's not terrible when she's sitting in on commentary. She can sometimes throw together some sentences that don't sound like complete dog poo. But this was just bad. I mean, it was like junior high drama club bad.
Yeah.
No offense to folks in junior high taking drama, but it was really awful. But that match was fun, and I will also say I loved the when she said broken heart. I was like, I wonder if that's a Matt Hardy dig. I wonder who there was like, okay, we're gonna say this, and this is actually about broken Matt. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I think you're reading too much into that.
Yeah.
But I would say this: it was a good match, but there was a point in the match that many wrestling fans might have noticed, where Nikki hits Natalya with a kick. They were outside the ring. Natalya thinks this is a great time to tell her good job, and. Yep. Then Nikki says, "I'm going to throw you over, right?"
That's in my notes.
How about you turn down the mics, WWE?
Yes.
I'm not saying don't talk. Shit, that's been a part of wrestling since before I existed or knew what wrestling is. But you got to turn down the mics or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did you have to tell her good job right then?
I mean, it was a good kick.
Like, huh?
It was a good kick. I will give her that.
It was awesome. It was just the timing of the good job. Like, yeah. So they kind of took me out of the rest of the match.
I can see that.
I mean, I heard it when it happened, and I was like, it was very hard for me to get back into the match.
Yeah, it was very much the John Cena school of spot calling.
Yeah.
Because he is so famous for that. The only thing I find it a little contrived the way that these matches always end up being around Maurice. But I loved Maurice coming out all wicked pissed with a quote-unquote lead pipe.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
I want to see her lay that in there a little bit.
Yeah.
I just felt like that pipe shot should have been a little stiffer.
Agreed. I love the Miz coming out and pulling her off, and I thought that was the right finish. Having Natty win this feud and Nikki losing it because of Maurice perfectly sets up that going forward. Plus, what happened in the Battle Royal, which we'll get to in a second, really set up everything nicely. So it little convoluted, and I think it's mostly convoluted because of all the rumors we've been hearing for months about that. But I enjoyed it. This was one of the most enjoyable Nikki Bella matches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I
felt like, to quote Natty, she did a good job.
Yes, she did.
I was like, man, you don't understand. As a wrestling fan, I have learned to turn my hearing down, so I don't pay attention to that. I focus on the moves. I really try not to listen to what they say. That's my original person that was horrible at it was Triple H. His voice is so deep that the mic picked it up, so you always knew when a high knee was coming. So that's fine. I'm fine with it. You know what? Like I said, it's a part of it. So I've learned to ignore it. They said it directly over a mic to the point where I couldn't ignore it.
It was so funny. Good job with that kick. I was like, oh my God, really? Okay, I'm going to throw you over now. Like, jeez. John Cena must be proud of them both right now. Good job. The only other things, before the main event segment, you had that Bray Wyatt promo, and I gotta say, that belt looks fantastic on Bray Wyatt. I'm just so happy with him being champion. I really hope he holds it for a long time. I think
I'm of the opinion that he's one of those guys. He can be champion, great. He just can't hold it for a long time.
Damn.
It just doesn't work. It doesn't work because if he holds it, he becomes the power that he's always fighting against.
No, I mean, he could make it so it... I don't know.
It's hard to be the renegade with the championship. That's why Stone Cold never held the belt that long.
I don't know, unless you make it you're a thorn in the side of the man, and you tell him, see, I've got this thing, I've got it, and you can't get it away from me, kind of thing.
I think you would have to be on Raw to do that, baby.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Bray Wyatt. I love Bray Wyatt. I just don't think his character works with the long title reign.
I could see that. So this Battle Royal, my basic thoughts on this were AJ Styles is so stupidly over, it is not even funny. I mean, I think the crowd was into him throughout the majority of the match more than anyone else. I did love the Miz Cena stuff. I thought that was really good, mostly because Miz made it good. I don't particularly enjoy watching those two wrestle, at least traditionally, because Miz has such a soft style, and Cena tends to play to whatever style he's wrestling against. So that's why
they have both gotten a lot better. I'm just actually going with what you're saying.
True.
They have both. This is generally a time I would completely crap on something, but they have both gotten a ton better since their WrestleMania. They've both put on way better matches since then. That I am kind of confident that they would put on a really good show.
That's the saving grace to me, is I think as the WWE has gotten better talent in there for them to work with, that they have improved. I think both of them they were held back by, in some cases, by their era and by the fact that they were working against people who were pretty much, born and bred WWE built folks. And they didn't have a chance to work with people of varying styles and whatnot. So now that the company has the roster is so different than it used to be when they really were first starting. Because, especially when, by the time Miz came around, a lot of those Attitude Era guys were really phased out for the most part, or barely working. And so, those, every time I've seen him and Cena together, it's been awful. I just look at it and go, yeah, this is everything that was wrong with WWE for a decade right here. But they've both, you're right, have had since then excellent matches with people. So I'm hoping that this is gonna be good. I think the wild card and the one to watch more than anything else is going to be Maurice, because if she can come out with some ferocity in this, I think it's going to be really entertaining. But I really enjoyed this battle royal. The thing that I thought the end was, that was a stupid spot to do at the end, because it's damn near impossible to pull it off correctly, even with two guys as excellent as Luke Harper and AJ Styles. I mean, it's almost...
agreeing with you, the problem is, I heard on the Taz show, I don't listen very much, but I do listen to the Taz show every now and then, and he said that spot is impossible to pull off because one guy is 1 foot taller than the other guy.
Yeah, it's just hard because physics. But the thing I thought really at the end of it, as much as AJ Styles was over throughout this entire match and the crowd chanted for him, they really wanted Luke Harper to win. And I really wanted Luke Harper to win. Yeah.
And storyline, it makes sense. That makes sense storyline. I've heard rumors that the only reason he didn't win straight up is because they don't know if they want to put Luke Harper in a main event at a WrestleMania.
Well, they should. That crowd was going nuts for him. That's
true, but if you got to think about that, you have to know that they think about that. It's Vince, it's his baby. WrestleMania is everything to him, and Luke Harper is not what you would call an established star.
But also this would be a great way to make a star. WrestleMania is about showcasing stars, but there was a time it was also about making stars. And there were people that really got great reputations in WWE because of WrestleMania performances.
I think the roster is behind it. I think the roster loves him. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Luke Harper. The fact that Randy likes working with him, because you can tell he likes working with him because he keeps doing it. And when Randy doesn't like to do it anymore, he makes it not happen.
Right.
So, that being said, that's great that he likes Luke Harper. Everyone thinks he's a star. JBL's been calling him a star forever. So, Dusty was the original one that thought he was a star. So that being said, he's gotten the stamp of approval from a lot of established wrestlers, but that doesn't mean Vince is going to put him in one of his main event matches.
So here's something that they could do that would probably appease Vince and everyone. You could have, basically, you can make it a triple threat with Randy Orton coming in and saying, no, if Luke Harper's in this match, I've got to protect you, Bray. I'm getting back into it.
Oh, yeah, it would definitely end up being a triple threat. That's what I think everyone's thought is that no matter what, it's going to end up being a triple threat.
Right. And the other option, though, is if they really haven't decided what to do with AJ, and the whole idea of AJ versus Shane is just no, you could even put AJ in there. You could have them go to like a draw of some kind, and you could have Luke Harper and AJ just go through a hellacious match, and they can't beat each other, and Daniel Bryan come out and say, okay, you're both in the main event of WrestleMania. And then at that point, Randy Orton goes, oh, hell no, I'm getting in this too. I got to protect Bray. And you could have a fatal 4-way.
I would prefer that, personally. But just because I would prefer it doesn't mean that's what you'll get. But honestly, that's the best I've heard, the idea of it. I would rather it be a fatal 4-way for technically Randy and Bray versus AJ and Luke.
Oh, that would be incredible, because all 4 of those guys can go. That would be so much fun. And for the people who don't like the idea of multi-man matches in big, high-profile, main event spots in WrestleMania, well, you've got at least 2 other main events that are going to happen. Whatever's going on with the Universal title, if it doesn't go to Brock Lesnar or to Goldberg, and then the Goldberg-Lesnar match. So there's going to be at least 3 quote-unquote main events on this show, if not 4. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be the best bet, and it could easily steal the show. Speaking of Mania, I saw a picture of, and it was probably completely faked, but of a potential card for...
Yes. Yeah, that was definitely fake.
But man, I tell you what, the thing that jumped out to me on that was the potential of the ladder match for the cruiserweights, which I've been advocating, as listeners of this show know, for a while now. Please make that happen. Let's have the multi-man match be the cruiserweights with the ladder and let them just go to town killing each other. I'd love it.
Yeah, especially with Neville being in that match. That would be a great match. And, everyone hits their spots, and it'll be a great way to advertise the cruiserweight division.
Exactly. Speaking of, did you watch 205 Live this week?
I did.
All right, I did not, so tell us all about it. What happened?
All right, so highlights. Kendrick and Tozawa was entertaining again. There was a creative ending to the match where Kendrick ties Tozawa's foot underneath the ring and then wins by countout. I had literally never seen it before.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And when I say I've never seen something before, as long as I've been watching wrestling, that is a statement. So, that was very interesting. The promo after, he says, I'm not done with Tozawa. I got more lessons to teach him. The first lesson was on Raw, be prepared for anything. The second lesson was on SmackDown. on 205 Live. There is more than one way to win a match. And I thought he did a really good job in his Brian Kendrick type of old guy, crafty veteran speak. It's really working for him. In all exclamation points, I got Noam Dar won. He beat Mustafa Ali, who they kind of built up to become the cruiserweight jobber for a little bit, and that was kind of a good match. We got the announced return of A-Double. Austin Aries is going to return. It was kind of funny. He built it. He's like, I got breaking news for you. This next superstar is something you've never seen, and then they show a vignette of him. So,
that's I might have to go back and watch this.
He's like, I'm the best on the mic, I'm the best at the commentator, but there's nothing compared to how good I am in the ring. So, I think he's going to do both.
Cool.
And I think that set up him doing both. Main event was cool, as in a storyline. It was Nice versus Jack Gallagher, and they kept building up how Jack Nice and Adrian Neville have similar body styles, and it will help him get prepared for it. And I thought that was really cool. Again, I like when a little realism and strategy is brought into wrestling. It's not just, I'm better than you. There's a reason that he's better.
I love Austin Aries, how he always talks about Nice's abs.
Yeah.
That cracks me up. And
he said, there goes those abs. There's like 20 of them.
And he also, he calls he gave a name for Nice's finisher, the running Nice.
Running Nice.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I hope he stays on commentary, because he is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing on commentary. Well, that sounds like I'm going to need to go back and watch that this weekend.
It was a really good show. I honestly was like all about it. As far as all about the show, I was all about it.
Nice. All right. Well, NXT this week, I actually got to watch it. Did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm going to say overall, I thought it was a relatively boring show.
I agree.
I did like the triple threat. I was shocked that Peyton Royce won. And I was also kind of surprised that wasn't the main event.
I was not shocked that Peyton Royce won because, again, they're kind of doing the holdover, the Mania thing, and that's a match to keep Asuka interested until we get to the takeover, takeover before Mania, which I bought my tickets last week for it.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't. Honestly, no one snuck out in this match. They really do need to build Ember Moon Star more if she's going to be the person that takes the belt from Asuka, because right now I don't buy it.
Yeah, I will say in this match, and I think Peyton Royce is a good wrestler. I think Billie Kay is a good wrestler. But just watching this match, it was kind of obvious that Ember Moon was actually the best of those three. Now, Liv Morgan isn't that good. She's
I think
learning.
Peyton Royce was clearly the best in the match. I think she's such a solid worker. I don't know. I just thought she was better. And I am more and more going on the idea of Asuka, whichever title they decide to do it on, Asuka wins at Mania, it gives Ember Moon her first loss, and then goes to whichever show as the champion, because I don't buy anybody on the roster beating her.
Yeah.
So I'd rather the NXT belt go into a tournament.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. They had, and we've said it before, they had the perfect opportunity in that fatal four-way where someone else could have gotten pinned, and it was the perfect way to take the belt off of her, and they didn't do it. Because she needs to go up at this point, because there's nothing else at all for her to do in NXT, and she is actually holding the rest of the roster back.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to those other ladies, because there are some really, really good people there, but they just...
Yeah, because Sasha, Bayley, Becky, and they were all on the same level. The Four Horsemen women, they were all learning together, and they got better together. As far as right now, you have this person that's a 10-plus year veteran that is clearly better than everybody else on the roster, which, again, you hope that helps them bring up their game, but honestly, in their matches, it just comes across as this chick is way better than y'all.
Yeah, and she doesn't need to be in NXT any longer. She really didn't need to be in NXT for more than a few months, honestly, in the first place. But hopefully after Mania, we'll see her show up. And, that going back to my idea for SmackDown, if Naomi is not going to be able to compete at Mania, you could still have Alexa Bliss do an open challenge, Asuka come out, Asuka destroys her.
I'm playing on that. Naomi comes in Orlando. Alexa Bliss figures out a way to win. At SmackDown, basically Daniel Bryan says, I'm tired of your cheating ways. You're going to defend the title tonight and against a surprise guest, and it ends up being Asuka.
That's even better. That is much better. So I like that. And then all you have to do is have William Regal. You could have that just like they did with Paige, have Asuka walking backstage at the Performance Center holding both belts. William Regal showing up and going, I'm going to need one of those. You can't have both. Sorry. And that's it. Asuka goes up to the main roster, and so yeah, that would be very cool. I will say one other thing about the women's stuff. I loved the Peyton Royce Billie Kay backstage interview segment. I thought that was fantastic. Peyton Royce was just on fire. That was like her best mic work I've seen. And I was watching that, I was like, yes, please give us more of that. That is awesome.
I agree. I'm really high on Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. I'm not high on Liv Morgan at all. I don't get her character. I think her in-ring work is worse than everyone else's. And most importantly, I don't get her character.
Well, it's 205 represent, man. She's New Jersey all the way, baby.
Get
it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
need
don't
to
either.
fix that. She reminds me of like the pre-Becky Lynch before and like Emma characters. It's clearly not going to be your character in the future, so I'd like them to go ahead and change it up.
See, she reminds me of more of early Alexa Bliss. And maybe that's just the fact that she's also a very short, very petite, very pretty blonde girl.
Yeah, me personally, she would have to gain about 15, 20 pounds and then she'd have to work a lot stiffer to me. It looks like she works like she's trying not to hurt the other girl.
Yeah, she needs to... I mean, if she put on some more muscle, that'd be fine, but she needs to actually start hitting people and really make it look like it hurts. So yeah, you're right there. And there's going to be a heel turn, I'm sure, at some point. They're going to have to do something with her character. But she's someone that is probably going to be in NXT for another 2-3 years at least, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that'll give her
I agree.
plenty of time.
No one except Asuka is ready to be called up. And I think if you get rid of Asuka, you can bring a couple more of the people, get Mandy Sachs some more time, and get Aaliyah some more time, and actually build your division again. Because I feel like Asuka has put the division in a holding pattern.
Exactly. I mean, you could make an argument that Peyton and Billy could probably go up.
Yeah, see, I couldn't make that argument yet. Not yet.
Right. The one other thing...
Just because how big the other four were before you brought in. Becky was kind of the borderline person. It was like, is she really ready to come up yet? And then...
True.
Oh, yeah, so I would love that star to be built.
That is true.
Because it was like when the other four went up, it was like, oh my God, what is the division going to do? And they haven't recovered from it.
Yeah, that is very true. The only other thing I've got on the women's division, and this is probably a silly thing, but I'm worried that Peyton and Billy are tanning too much because their skin is getting really... They have the potential in a few years to look like leather, and I need them to stop that because they're both very young and very pretty, and they don't need to keep tanning. I know they're from Australia, but please, stop. It gets gross.
They are very dark.
Yeah, we need them to stop that. So there was a... I'm trying to think what else. The only other notes I really had on this show was there was a really quick shot during the No Way Jose Bobby Roode match when Bobby Roode was coming in, and there was a moment where the camera caught No Way Jose dancing in beat to Bobby Roode's music, and that made me laugh.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But I remember when I'm watching this, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, this episode is 59 minutes long, which NXT episodes are really random in their length. Really freaking random. And it was like at 36 minutes, and like, up next, it's main event time. I'm like, holy shit, are they really going to give these two guys almost a half an hour? And no, there were some vignettes and long-ass entrances, thankfully. But, yeah.
And this match was about KO returning.
Yeah.
Kassius Ohno. It was all about that. We brought him up a little earlier. He's fat. I mean wrestler. I mean, he's wrestler fat. And I definitely mean that. There's a different type of fat. In normal life, he was a husky, normal-looking dude. And I had no problem with that, whatever. But in wrestling life, you're held to a different standard. He's fat, and he needs to lose weight.
Well, when your job is you are literally walking out in underwear and nothing else on, you probably should not look like you've got rolls hanging over. I mean, with the Beer City Bruiser, it's part of his gimmick. Granted, it makes me want to throw up, but it's part of his gimmick. With Kassius Ohno, it's just he's never bothered getting new ring gear. It's like, come on, son.
The big thing is, believe me, I'm not body shaming. Because to me, I think body shaming is really is for normal life. But when you pick a life where your job is to look a certain way, you are putting yourselves in criticisms. You are saying you are putting yourself out there to be criticized. You need to lose weight, sir.
Agreed. Well, did you watch TNA this week?
I did. It's honestly, it's more of a blip. It was better. There was a forced marriage type of segment, not ending in an actual marriage, which has been overdone. The Hardys got another set of belts. Matt passed along his premonitions to Jeff. The Cody Moose thing seemed forced, but I'm ready to see that match. Still an overall horrible show.
So, speaking of Cody Rhodes, there's been talk, and I think the Observer, Wrestling Observer, the one who mentioned that going forward, Cody is like Cody and Zack Sabre Jr. are both going to make New Japan kind of their primary home. And I'm really wondering how he's been able to finagle this contract that is going to allow him to show up on New Japan World shows, on Ring of Honor TV, and on Impact.
I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, his dad has opened up a lot of doors because his dad didn't have any negative relationships with anyone, so they're willing to work with him and let him outside the rules. Plus, he's a WWE guy that really doesn't have a problem putting other people over.
True. So I'm guessing he did not have his Bullet Club tights on?
He didn't have his Bullet Club tights because he was in a suit. But after he gave Moose the Crossroads, he did the Bullet Club guns at him.
Interesting. I'm kind of surprised. I wonder, that might not make New Japan happy. Well, I mean, the gun hand symbol, you can't really copyright that.
You can't.
Yeah,
just like they didn't have to get a new copyright from the NWO symbol.
Yeah, the Too Sweet, because I think WWE tried to copyright the Too Sweet hand symbol, and the Copyright Office was like, no. You just, no. Stop, please.
I mean, it's really close to the Texas symbol.
Exactly.
So it's really very hard to market that. I mean, very hard to trademark a hand sign.
Exactly. Interesting. So at some point I may check out. I'm probably going to wait until they really re-kick things to check out some TNA. I
would definitely tell you when I'm like, oh, okay, this is about to be the kickoff episode, because I think what happens on this next week episode is Bobby Lashley loses his belt to the MMA guy, which is like the worst decision ever.
Yeah, because that guy's been pro wrestling for what, like a cup of coffee?
I mean, he's wrestled in New Japan. He's wrestled. He's 39. He doesn't really have the physique that I would like, and I don't think he's a big enough draw to bring MMA people over. Because I think, to me, I've always said this, pro wrestling fans will watch MMA. Most diehard MMA fans will never watch pro wrestling.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you just look at the way Conor McGregor talks about pro wrestling, so...
Oh, he loves pro wrestling. He's a big pro wrestling fan. He knows how to build heat.
Good point.
Conor McGregor, I mean, Paul Heyman said it best. You all got worked. He's building up his star in case he wants to make a WWE appearance. He's building up himself as a person that thinks the WWE product is shit. So when they bring him in and they give him one of the up and coming stars, it's going to build both of their stars.
That is true.
Conor McGregor is a marketing smart, or the people around him are marketing smart. He's very good at playing the heel type character that he plays right. But it's a character. He's not like that. I'm not saying I'm friends with him in any way. This is just using common sense.
Yeah, true that. Well, I hope he
like in the same vein as he talks about how he's dissing wrestlers, you can find old tweets where he's talking about the product and how much he loves wrestling.
Nice. Gotta love the Twitter. All right, well, I did not get to watch Ring of Honor this week, so we're going to skip the Ring of Honor talk. Other than
this week,
do I?
there is no honor on this show this week.
No. Other than I did see a clip this morning from the Honor Rising shows in New Japan, which are joint Ring of Honor New Japan shows, where Kenny Omega was cutting a promo and Adam Cole interrupted him, seeming to build some heat between the two. I think they were in a tag team match against who knows. I can't even remember. But that'll be interesting to see if that goes anywhere.
I would like to see it go somewhere, and I would like Omega to take the title off of Cole in ROH.
That would. I mean, he appears in ROH occasionally. I'm not sure how.
He said he was going to do a lot more American dates this year, even though New Japan is home.
Well, if Adam Cole is WWE bound, Kenny Omega would be a good person to beat him. Because, I mean, you could have Christopher Daniels do it at the 15-year anniversary show. That could be fitting that he gets the belt that I don't think he's ever held. And that could be a feel-good story. But, also having Kenny Omega beat Adam Cole would be a good one too. Who knows? We'll just have to see.
And Adam Cole is a thought for me. If they do a slow build of this faction with Triple H, Joe, and Kevin Owens, that would be my preferred pick for the fourth guy is Adam Cole.
Oh yeah. Because
that would be a big surprise. Him joining the show, and he could be more of the mouthpiece of the group.
Exactly, and he doesn't need NXT. He really, you send him to the Performance Center, give him some notes about how they do things in WWE, have him work out with the guys, and have him show up at the faction is building, and they say, we've got this third member that's coming. And, I don't know, have him show up in a mask and pull the mask as some big reveal. So, yeah, that would be very cool. I like that idea. And that would be a great faction. And, yeah, having Adam Cole be the mouthpiece. But what would they be called?
Oh, they're going to stick with the Evolution title. Evolution was Triple H's group,
Yeah.
But most of them, I would think, if you want to do something, I don't know what you would call it, but it'd be something about people that had to wait a long time for something. WWE is very good at coming up with names because they have people with writing degrees that do this for a living. So I would probably wait, but I keep hearing it's going to be Evolution. If this gimmick is even something they're thinking of doing, I was like, I've never heard a rumor that it was happening. It's kind of something that's been fan made, which, believe me, I imagine they use some fan made things, and it would be amazing if they used it. But it was more of, hey, Samoa Joe was in a suit, Kevin Owens was in a suit. They both talked about their loyalty to Triple H. Faction. That's how it came about. There was no Meltzer saying that, hey, I've heard this or anything like that. This has just been people trying to put two and two together.
Yeah, I would rather it not be called Evolution. Just from the same fact of you look at Evolution on paper and you're like, okay, that was the Four Horsemen of that era. But they didn't shackle that group with the name Four Horsemen. So even though this would be the evolution of this era, don't shackle them by calling them Evolution.
If Triple H is the leader, then I can see that being it, because Evolution was his group.
True. But I would hope he would be more interested in putting them over and giving them their own identity than by making it, his group 2.0. We'll see. We'll see. And that's going to bring us to... Well, did you have anything else in any of the shows from this last week?
No.
All
I
right.
did not.
So that's going to bring us to our top 5 this week. This is top 5 180s. Wrestlers that we at one point either loved or hated and then turned completely around on. So did you have any honorable mentions?
I had 3.
All right. Wow.
Mark Henry.
Okay.
His American gimmick was lame, and then he joined the Nation. I think my 180 really came when he became a part of, when he started the Hall of Pain. I was a really big fan of the Hall of Pain. Eric Young, when he debuted with Team Canada, I really thought he was the lame member of Team Canada. I think my big change with him is when they gave him the Daniel Bryan-esque character. He became champion, and then after he lost the belt, he went crazy. So the crazy Eric Young actually turned me around on Eric Young.
You know, and I will say real quick, TNA did a better Daniel Bryan than WWE did with Daniel Bryan.
Well, you know,
as far as title runs go, Eric Young's title run, and granted, he didn't get injured.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, TNA had a young, healthy dude, and TNA's work schedule was a lot lighter than WWE's.
Very true. Very true. And that was my first real experience with Eric Young was about the time he won the title. And so I've always liked him. So continue your next one.
And then the last one might shock a lot of people, Paul Heyman. I was not a Paulie Dangerously guy when I was young. Thought he was just a cheap knockoff of Jim Cornette. Over the years, and you know, I found out about him as a booker and the ECW and all that stuff, and now he's probably my favorite non-wrestling personality.
Nice. Well, I do not have any honorable mentions on my list. My list is all entirely people from within the last few years. These are people that I kind of was introduced to when I got back into wrestling. So we'll go start back with you. Who is your number 5?
Adrian Neville. Adrian was probably on my most hated wrestlers list last year. If you might know me, again, wrestling's a cosmetic business. I don't like short people. So Adrian Neville is the shortest of the short people. And I don't like that they build him and that he can beat, you know, the giants. So I don't like it. And to me, there's short, like Shawn Michaels is short, and he's like 5'9", 5'10". Adrian Neville is an infant as far as height. So I was not a big fan of his, but with his heel turn and the advent of the cruiserweight division, I think he is perfectly cast now as the king of the cruiserweights. And the fact that he used to wrestle giants as in a way of putting them over, I have become a fan. And he'd probably be in my like top 15 wrestlers.
Nice. See, I've always liked Neville. I've always liked Adrian Neville. I hate that they got rid of his first name. That was stupid. And I'm glad the cape is gone. Thank God. But I always liked him.
And you know what's funny? The cape actually fits his character now. Because he's the king of the cruiserweights.
Yeah, but I love when he returned and he had it and he just threw it off like this. What the?
He's come with the robe and a crown now.
Oh no.
Because he's the king.
Yeah, but just because you call yourself the king doesn't mean you need to dress in a robe and a crown. That's
Why not?
Gross.
What character in wrestling history has been a king and didn't wear a crown and a robe? Steve
Austin. He won King of the Ring.
And he threw the crap. Yep. But he never was called King Austin, though.
Yeah, but Neville's not being called King Neville. He's just saying he is the best of the cruiserweights. He's the king of them.
And he says, "Where's my crown?" is what he says.
Yeah, but his crown is the title.
Dude, and if they would have make the crown look like the title, that would have even been better.
Oh no, that would be so.
And so instead of the belt, he had a crown.
See, what I liked is when he turned heel and he threw away that cape, it was him saying, yeah, fuck this stupid-ass gimmick you gave me. I am better than what you people in the office think I am, and I'm going to show you by screwing up all of these fools in this division.
He is perfect for the cruiserweight division. If they ever try to push him as a heavyweight again, I'll hate him.
I'm fine. I thought he and John Cena had a fantastic match.
Again, and I don't even buy him beating John Cena. And that's how much, and I hate John Cena. So.
Oh, see, I did. I think if Rusev hadn't interfered, I'm pretty sure Cena was going down to that Red Arrow.
The Red Arrow, the 10-second maneuver. Oh, God, I'm not going to even get into that again. I'm so glad he doesn't use it anymore.
Yeah, but the thing, though, with the Red Arrow, one, it looks spectacular, and two, you can tell it hurts, because all that extra spinny shit he does.
Hey, but if you knock someone down for the 10 seconds it takes him to get the move off, why didn't you just pin him?
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so my number 5, speaking of smaller guys, is Tyson Kidd. When I first got back into wrestling and I started watching NXT, Tyson was down there. And at first I was not impressed. It was when he was trying to be a babyface. And then watching him slowly lose his mind when the crowd would chant Natty's husband at him. And then by the time it was all said and done, he became one of my favorites. He was in a triple threat match with Cesaro and Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title on SmackDown a couple of years ago. That was incredible. The team he had with Cesaro, they were so good, and they came out as just a-hole, heels. They were just like, we're better than everyone. We don't care what y'all think. We're better, and they turned themselves. The crowd turned them face, because they were so good in the ring, and they got so over, and the spin, the Cesaro swing into that drop kick was such a great move, and it sucks that his career is over, because he not that he was ever going to be a world champion or anything like that, but he's so good, so stupidly good, and he is a case of one of those guys where pretty much it was just his sheer talent in the ring turned me around. Because at first his gimmick put me off, and then the more I watched him and all those matches he had with Neville, the fatal 4-ways in NXT that he was in, made me just go, damn, this dude is awesome. So that's my number 5. All right, who is your number 4?
My number 4 is the Usos. Again, a character change can make everything better. And the face paint and doing the Samoan chant. I thought Samoan chant was pretty cool, but I just thought their character was so passé that I had started to hate them. Then the heel turn came, and it's more hip-hop. It's more now. It's very much more of a rap type character, gangsta. Their music is a lot more hard-hitting, and it fits their personality. If you watch Up, Up, Down, Down, Xavier Woods' show, you will see that this is more than they are two cocky dudes. They are competitive, they talk a lot of crap, and they will do anything to win. And that's how they come across on video games. So the fact that they decided to really take those characters, turn them up 10 levels, and present them as their name and not change anything about them. I mean, they still on their day one-ish, and it's very cool for the Usos.
Yeah, you could always tell that they were hip-hop fans, because one, their old music was a hip-hop song. And sorry, I know I'm about to talk some hip-hop, and I know that upsets some people, but this won't be long, I promise. But they definitely always had that swagger of the hip hop community, and you could tell just by the way they're dressed, they're that is who they are. And so this turn has been fantastic. I've always liked the Usos, but I really like the Usos now. So yeah, good call.
They very much seem more like the next step of Rikishi now, because with the Scotty 2 Hotty, that was very much a hip hop character that Rikishi played. And now that was hip-hop kind of then, and this is hip-hop now.
Yeah, good call. My number 4 is Bull Dempsey. And you talk about a guy who, a gimmick change, made all the difference in the world, now known as Bull James. He is coming to Ring of Honor. He is actually, I think, going to have a match against Silas Young at some upcoming show. And I remember the exact match. He had a match with Tyler Breeze. And there was a moment Tyler started running around the ring, and Bull Dempsey started chasing him. And he got winded, and he had to stop. And at that point, his character changed from being this badass, I'm going to kill you, which I never bought, because as you talk about aesthetics of wrestling, this guy in his singlet looked awful. Bless his heart, just awful. How he could walk out in public like that, I don't know. But then you turn that into a sympathetic comedy gig, and he had these great backstage segments where he was like eating tons of food and at the vending machine, and William Regal was getting onto him, and then they did the whole bullfit thing. And this was truly a guy from day one. I was like, oh, fuck this guy. I hate this guy. He sucks. And it turned around. By the end of it, I loved him, and I was very sad to see him go. So yeah, bullfit all the way. I still miss Bull Dempsey.
Yeah, he's made a couple of appearances, and he's going to be at WrestleCon, so I'm definitely going to make sure I meet him then.
Definitely awesome. Let him know that Bullfit turned me around. I became a fan because
Bullfit.
That whole thing. Yeah. All right, who is your number 3?
Becky Lynch. She debuted in NXT and this all green, overly Irish gimmick.
Oh, that was horrible.
I thought it was horrible. Didn't think she was attractive. I was hoping she went away very quickly. Then at WrestleMania 31, I was on a flight from Dallas to San Francisco. On that flight was the young stars of the NXT. It was Carmella, Alexa Bliss, Dana Brooke. It was the chick that used to do interviews backstage. I forgot her name. And Becky Lynch. And honestly, at the time, they were nothing. Becky had just came off that Fatal 4-Way match, which was a great women's match for NXT. And it just turned around everything. And I met her, and she was the nicest person in life. And gosh, she was hot. And it just turned my whole meeting her actually turned my opinion around and got me behind her as a wrestler.
Nice. That was that Fatal 4-Way that you're referring to. That was just a great match. Period. I thought.
Yeah, it was the 4 Horsewomen. It was, and then no one knew them as that yet. No one had talked about that name. They knew they were the 4 Horsewomen, but.
Yeah, and that match really is the one. That was the one where Sasha won the belt, but that really put Becky on the map. That was such a good match. I think Becky. I think that all in green dancing to like really bad Irish jig music lasted all of 1 or 2 weeks, and it was because right after that she was backstage and she had an interaction with Sasha, and that's when she became Sasha's like henchman. And went heel, and so they fixed that very quickly. Even though from the first time when she was doing that jig dancing and it was just so cringeworthy, I just thought she's just drop dead gorgeous, stunning. But you can also tell that she is just so nice and so level-headed. And because when you look like that, you could be so full of yourself and such a piece of crap. And from everything you've told me about her, from your many times meeting her and other stories I've heard,
I'm at 4 now.
Yeah, everything I've heard is that just she is the sweetest, most down to earth person, which makes me like her even more. So, yeah, good call. My number 3 is actually a guy who is one of my favorite wrestlers going right now, and that is Cesaro. The first time I saw Cesaro, he was still wearing those weird leg band things on his like thighs, and he was in the Real Americans, which I just hated. And I was like, what the fuck is this? What are those things on your legs? What are you doing? I don't get this. And he was another guy that just sheerly through his wrestling ability turned me around to go, okay, this guy is legit one of the best wrestlers in the world. I mean, no bones about it. He is that freaking good. and he is now just one of my favorites. And ever since I've done this show, in all of its different iterations, I've sung the praises of Cesaro and how much I love his work. And yeah, so Cesaro, my number 3. Yeah, who do you have at number 2?
Cesaro is one of those people. I saw him in the tag team with Chris Hero, a.k.a. Kassius Ohno, as the Kings of Wrestling. And so I've always been a fan of Cesaro. Number 2 for me.
Real quick, do you think we'll ever see the reunion of the Kings of Wrestling in WWE?
Maybe as a one-time, one-off thing.
That would be so cool. Okay, who is your?
It would be.
Who's your number 2?
Adam Copeland, a.k.a. Edge. He debuted as this stupid character. He won the Intercontinental title on his first night. It was an aesthetic thing to me. I thought he was way too skinny. And I hated his hair and everything, kind of everything about him when he debuted. The Brood kind of changed me, but the 180 happened when him and Edge and Christian started doing the 5-second pose, and then everything about him after that. I became a huge Edge fan. I had the Edge retirement T-shirt. I finally got to meet him for the first time last year, and in the quickest possible way, I told him my story. And I hated you when you debuted, and you turned me around, and I was like, it sucks that I couldn't meet you while you were actively wrestling. So it was kind of cool.
Nice
to actually meet him, and he was a good dude. He seems very content in his retirement.
Well, good. And he, it was good that he retired when he did, because he has full functionality of his body, and he is still really young, and he's got a full life ahead of him. So it sucks that he had to retire early, but in a lot of ways, it's better that these guys retire early and they can walk for the rest of their lives than become blithering vegetables, which happens.
And we talk about retiring early. He started wrestling so early that he had a damn near 20-year career.
Yeah. My first real memories of him were with the Brood, and that was really my first interactions with him. So I've always liked him. I never had a real super strong opinion one way or another, and a lot of his heyday, his glory years happened when I wasn't watching wrestling. I've gone back and watched a decent amount of that stuff, and it's pretty good. So yeah, very nice. My number 2 is my favorite tag team in the world right now, The Revival. When I first saw these guys, I thought, holy crap, what hole did you find these two jamokes in? What is this? What is this? And they were jobbers, and they jobbed left and right, and I thought they were just really bad Arn Anderson wannabes, and then they started winning, and then their characters started coming through, and now I'm just like, I'm all in, man. They've got me. I'm a lifelong fan. They are so good. And it was
crazy how they put the belts on them and then started developing their character.
Exactly.
Usually, you develop the character and then put the belts on them, but they hardly ever talked, and they won the titles in what I would call one of the more shocking victories ever. And then their characters started coming out.
Well, you think of the recent of the history of the NXT Tag Team Championship, and I think there are 3 teams that really kind of developed as champions. I think you could say that happened with the Lucha Dragons. But there was, even as champions, they didn't do a whole ton of development other than just Lucha, which, speaking of another cringy thing from SmackDown, poor Kalisto, he just needs to not talk. Then Blake and Murphy, also, they were, it's the same path that the Revival took. They were jobbers, they got a fluke win, they won the title, and then their character's development, then they got Alexa Bliss, and it got really good.
And then, but they did not take it to the next level that the Revival did.
Right.
The Revival, Dash and Dawson, took the tag team division to another level because they have personality. they tried to save Blake and Murphy with Alexa, but how dull they were still came across.
Exactly. So who is your number one?
Number one, it's the only one that 180 the other way. And I've talked about it many, many times. It is your current face that runs the place, John Cena. When John Cena debuted, and he came out afterwards with the hip hop character, and he really didn't have entrance music. The beat just came, and then he rapped, and then came the word life. This is basic thugonomics. I was a big fan of John Cena. Still to this day, if you email word life WMXX@yahoo.com, it will be an email that comes to me. I had the padlock chain. I literally just went and bought a bike chain and had a padlock on it. It was rocking it, because that was John Cena's gimmick, and he wore throwback jerseys, which I already wore throwback jerseys, and it was that was his gimmick. It was really, it's cheesy now, but back then it was everything that hip hop was. It was my type of music. I was a huge Eminem fan back then, so was him. And he did everything he could to put his name out there as far as rapping and all that kind of stuff. And his in-ring work was decent. It wasn't good. It was decent. But I loved his character. Then his character changed. And he played the Marine in the movie. Then the MFers started saluting as he came out to the ring. And then he played this whitewashed, generic, all-American character, which was honestly a next generation Hulk Hogan, and started winning every match, and I turned on him about as quick as I started liking him.
Yeah, LOL Cena wins.
I've hated him ever since, and let me just say his matches with Kevin Owens, and since the Kevin Owens stuff, for a couple matches with CM Punk, but his matches with Kevin Owens was when I started softening my stance on hating John Cena. I won't say I'll ever like him, because I'll forgive him for killing a character that I liked very much. But I can say I don't hate him.
So which character did he kill that you liked very much?
But yes, the rap character.
Okay.
I mean, when he just said he wasn't rapping and he just went away from it, and it was to me, there was more of a natural evolution of it. You bring in the spinner belt, which I know a lot of people hated. I loved, because again, I'm a hip hop fan, and spinners were big back then, and it was just, it was changing something. And I was I felt like that should have been John Cena's belt. I don't think that should have been the official title. I felt like that should have, the Smoking Skull belt, it should have been John Cena's belt. And then when anybody else won, they carried the regular belt.
Yeah, that would be good. The only redeeming quality I think that belt has is it looked like it would suck to take a DDT on. Man.
Because it was lifted a little bit, yeah.
Oh, that thing, by the time, especially the one that CM Punk had, that thing it looked like it was a good 2-3 inches thick.
Yeah.
I mean, that did not look like it felt good. Well, my number one is someone who is probably going to have a match with John Cena at WrestleMania, and that is The Miz. And it's all been character development, and it's all been in this last year. He's just turned it around, especially when Maurice came back. He's been on fire, and I enjoy it. He's gotten better in the ring. His stuff with Daniel Bryan has been fantastic. And real quick, I just didn't remember. I do have an honorable mention that I just now remembered. Heath Slater. I wanted to cut his throat the first time I saw him, and now I actually enjoy him. So yeah. But The Miz is, I thoroughly enjoy what The Miz is doing now. And I couldn't stand him at first. So there you go. I did not have any that I liked and then went back on.
Yeah. John Cena was if I left him off the list, the friends I had to listen to the show would have ringed me for it because it is so obvious. I make it known that I loved John Cena at one point in time. I don't try to hide that fact. I thought he was it. I thought he was the future of the WWE, which he was, but I thought he was the future in a different way. I thought he was going to innovate. I thought he was going to really bring hip-hop more into the wrestling culture. And, he fell way short of my expectations, but in many ways he exceeded what I thought he was going to be. I never thought he was going to be a face to random place, and congrats to him on that. He's probably made a crap ton of money, so congratulations to John Cena on that. But yeah, he kind of lost a fan, but I'm pretty sure if given the opportunity, I would trade all my fans for all the money.
There you go.
I don't blame him for his choice, but that doesn't mean I didn't still hate him.
Yeah. Well, do you have an idea for our top 5 for next week?
Top 5 for next week. I feel like it should be our top 5 favorite current singles wrestlers.
Okay. That's a good one. Top 5. Sorry, writing this down, otherwise I will forget it.
I was going to say, getting that, I'm probably going to have a hell of a lot of honorable mentions on that, because I do think we're in a boom of wrestling right now as far as talent.
Okay, Jeff. Is that wrestling boom coming? Mr. Jarrett, Double J?
Did he say it was coming?
Oh my God, you didn't. Back when Global Force was starting out, he made this comment about there's this wrestling boom coming, and his logic was because there was so much wrestling on TV. How there was TNA, there was Ring of Honor, there's Lucha Underground, then you had NXT and all of this stuff, and it's like no, sir. Yeah, the WWE is making more money than they've ever made, but wrestling is not booming. Other than as a niche, certain things are booming. PWG is doing stupid crazy business because they have created such an environment that is so special, and that you are one of only a handful of people that get in there. But yeah, there's no boom. So yeah, sorry, that was a Jeff Jarrett thing.
And that's why I say I don't think of a wrestling boom. I just think of a talent boom. Right now, every organization is talent laden.
That is true.
And it's just from top to bottom, you're getting quality wrestling matches. In the first month of this year, we got 2 matches that it might not just go down as the best match of the year, but some of the best matches that you've ever seen.
Oh yeah, agreed, wholeheartedly.
And I think if done correctly, WrestleMania could be a showcase of what this business could be. It won't be, but if done correctly, it could be.
True. Yeah, that is true. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. You got anything before we get out of here?
Are you trying to skip my Hall of Fame?
Oh, crap. I'm totally forgot about that. Yeah, sorry. We've got a Hall of Fame. Yeah, because we skipped it last week. You're right. Okay, it's time for the Around the Ring, or Floyd Johnson's Around the Ring Hall of Fame. Who is going in this week?
This week, this is inspired by Diamond Dallas Page. He said he would have never wrestled. He would have never had his run. He would have never did anything if it wasn't from the inspiration of the man that we celebrate today, the American Dream, the Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was just one of many things. Honestly, we could do a whole show on Dusty Rhodes' impact on the business. I got about 10 things here that I'm going to go through, and then if you want to talk about, I'm not going to elaborate on each one. I'm just going to go through the 10 things fairly quickly, and then we'll talk about what the impact of him as far as our career, as far as our wrestling life has been. He started in 1967, trained by Joe Blanchard, who is the father of Tully Blanchard. He started as a heel with a young Gary Hart as his manager in World Class. His first claim to fame was a member of the Texas Outlaws with Dick Murdoch. He turned on Gary Hart and became a face known as the American Dream in Florida. His first feud was in the WWF with superstar Billy Graham, and that is where the Dusty finish was used for the first time, which we'll elaborate on in a few minutes. His ideas led him to be a booker in the Jim Crockett promotion and eventually WCW. His hard time promo during his feud with the Four Horsemen is Stuff of Legends. ESPN ranks it as his greatest promo, and celebrity Maria Menounos can quote it word for word. He invented Starcade, the Dusty finish, gave Ric Flair his name, and the Crockett Cup Tag Team Tournament. He infamously debuted with the WWF late in his career as the polka dot wearing wrestler, the Common Man Dusty Rhodes, where his biggest feud was his with fellow West Texas alum Ted DiBiase. He at one point he might be a member that people forgot. He was a member of the NWO and was managing the Outsiders for a while. And as the head of development at NXT, he was the promo character guy. He's responsible for many of the new talent that you see today, as far as Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose. Triple H gets the credit, but Dusty Rhodes was the main molder of their characters. He told Bayley to keep her side pony and fangirl character. He just thought it would be really over, which, again, he was right. And the current character, the American Nightmare, was a Dusty Rhodes' idea that he tried to, that him and Cody tried to get the WWE used for a long time. So those are 10. Like I said, we could talk for an hour about Dusty Rhodes' impact on wrestling business. I mean, he has two sons in the business, Gold Dust and, of course, Cody Rhodes. But as far as personally to me, he was the guy on the other side of the Horseman. When I was young, I was a Horseman fan. So as many people saw the Horseman as the bad guy, I thought Dusty Rhodes was the bad guy, because why would you ever want to be broke? But that bionic elbow, which I've been hit with many times by many different members of my family, is a niche. It was something easy that you could do on people without actually hurting them. And when he debuted as the polka dot wearing Dusty Rhodes, I didn't know he was in his 40s. I had no clue. But he's had a huge impact on my life as far as in wrestling, as in the early part of wrestling to the end. My biggest regret as a wrestling fan, my biggest regret, is that WrestleMania 31, he was doing the Legends booth, and there was only 5 people in line, and I was in another line, and I said, "Oh, I'll get him next year." And I never got to do it. And so he died the day after my birthday in 2015. And like I said, his impact is amazing. And that was the second time I got to meet him, because the night before WrestleMania 20, ROH did a show in New Jersey, and Dusty Rhodes was the honored guest. But to meet him, take a picture with him, it was $50, and I was definitely on a budget.
I didn't know you went to WrestleMania 20.
Yeah, I went to 19, 20, 30, 31, 32, and 33. It will be my 4th, 5th, 6th one.
Nice. So you saw the Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chris Benoit triple threat match.
That is my greatest wrestling moment.
I love that match. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, it was Benoit going over, so it was my favorite moment ever.
Yeah. Dusty Rhodes was incredible. I loved him as a kid watching the NWA. and his Hard Times promo is arguably the greatest promo ever. And I don't think that's hyperbole. It really is that good. His run in WWE was, I thought, another just prime example of Vince McMahon signing somebody from the competition and for whatever reason shackling them with a stupid gimmick and almost as punishment, it seems like. And maybe that wasn't the intention, but that's from the outside. It's like, what are you doing to this person who's had this great career? But Dusty Rhodes got it over, and because he was that good, and everything he's done for the wrestling business is it's just incalculable. He gave Sami Zayn his name, or finalized it, and Sami, and I think it was Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville were on Chris Jericho's show leading into their match at TakeOver when Sami finally won the belt. And he tells the story of when they were trying to figure out what name he was going to use and running into Dusty. And he does a great Dusty Rhodes impression. And how Dusty was asking him which name, and he was like, well, I kind of like Sami Zayn, but they keep rejecting it. And Dusty was like, Sami Zayn. That's got to be it. You tell them that Dream said it's Sami Zayn. And so that's how he got his name. I thought that was a great story. I do not do a very good Dusty Rhodes impersonation. I apologize for that. That was awful. So yeah, Dusty was incredible. I was very sad when he passed away. I shed a tear. And the wrestling world lost someone very special. Just the world in general lost someone special.
Yeah, because I heard about how good of a person he was. A fun fact about Dusty is the character Virgil, Ted DiBiase's manservant, was a direct shot at Dusty Rhodes because his real name was Virgil.
That's funny. Yeah, I can see
that.
Yeah,
it was Vince McMahon. Dusty was the head booker for the main competition, so Vince McMahon decided to take a shot at him.
Vince McMahon's such a spiteful bitch. God, so many things over the years. He is such a...
I mean, you don't become as successful as he is
without being an absolute piece of shit?
Without pissing people off.
There's pissing people off because you make better business decisions, and then there's being a spiteful baby like we have in the White House. So, I mean, they're peas in a pod.
Whoa.
Sorry.
You're getting a little political.
I got serious there for a second. Sorry,
yeah.
If we got heat for freaking talking about hip-hop, I'd hate to see what kind of heat we'll get if we go down that avenue.
But you know me. I very much try to keep it positive when it comes to the real world, and I can go about as heel or negative about the wrestling world as you want me to be. But like I said, unfortunately, and just a little political line is people generally, half the country is not going to like whoever our leader is.
Right now, the truth, man.
Huh?
Man, that is so true.
Half the country's not going to like him, no matter who he is. It could be actually the reincarnation of Jesus, and half the country would hate him.
Probably.
So, that being said, I always say on the other side, my political viewings lean closer to the left, and the right dealt with Barack Obama for 8 years. It's our turn.
There you go. That's a good way of putting it. All right, we will end it on that positive note. So that's going to do it for Around the Ring this week. We will be back next week with whatever hits the fan in the world of pro wrestling and our top 5 favorite current singles wrestlers and the next inductee in the Floyd Johnson Jr. Around the Ring Hall of Fame. I look forward to learning who that will be. Because so far this has been a very exclusive club, very exclusive. I do have to ask though, will the first ever world's champion make it into the list?
The first ever world champion.
Who
was that?
George Hackenschmidt.
I would have to do a lot more research, but there's no way he can't be on the list. And it's like I try to keep it with names that our listener would know. And I've thought about Luthez, Hackenschmidt, what is it? I can't.
Frank Gotch.
Frank Gotch. I'm thinking of the football player, and he has an award named after him, and I can't think of it right now. Bronco Nagurski. I've thought about those people for a lot, but it's like, the first list, I am really like the effect on the current business and our lives is what I'm really focusing on.
Good call. Well, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. There's speaking of, if folks want to learn about wrestling history, there's this really good book called Pro Wrestling FAQ that you can get. We have it in the Pioneer Library System. So if you were in the Oklahoma City metro area, you can pick up a book at one of your local libraries. It's really, really good. It talks about the history of Hackenschmidt and how the two titles, there was this American title and there was a European title, and the two had a match, and Hackenschmidt won. It was belt for belt, and he became the first world champion, and that's the championship that pretty much all major titles try to pull their lineage from. The NWA claimed that lineage, and thus, as an offshoot, the WWE title, which was basically a branch off of the NWA title, claims that lineage, especially when they bought WCW, then buying that lineage, because when WCW took over from the NWA, part of the deal was they get to keep the title lineage. So it's a fascinating. Some of that stuff I find really, really interesting. The history of wrestling going from a real carny, literally carny thing into what it's become now, and the point when they decided that they weren't going to be shoot fights anymore, and it was going to be fixed, and the reasoning behind that. It's really interesting stuff. So if you like the reading, I highly suggest checking out that book. Again, it's called Pro Wrestling FAQ. You can find it at the Pioneer Library System. Cheap plug for my work. So we're going to get out of here. Anything else you got before we do?
Nope. Just everyone enjoy their week. It looks like it's the last week that we have a WWE Universal Champion that we can respect. So enjoy it.
And on that, we are out of here, folks. You all take care. Have a great weekend and week. And if you watch the Oscars, hopefully something you like wins. Take care, guys.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.